Now that we've started a brawl, you can see there's all kinds of enemies on the screen. Well, the good news about this is the ones right above me are actually on my team. How do I know that for sure? Well, the only way to really know is based on the color of the text. The enemies have yellow as their name, and you can see that the blue guys are on your side. You'll spend a lot of time in this game waiting for the computer's turn to go by. A lot of times the enemy just stands around and guards because they don't have a ranged attack and there's nothing that they can do. And the artificial intelligence, or as I like to call it, artificial ignorance in this game, is sometimes they'll just run around like a chicken with its head cut off and then it decides to guard. So it's a little bit annoying, but it can also be kind of funny and entertaining at the same time. It's good to cast massive type spells that hit big areas, like here I'm casting Bless, because it hits a large area. I also like to use the sleep spell as mentioned earlier, because it allows you to take out the enemy with one hit once they're paralyzed. Now our magic user here only has 2 hit points, so I'm going to move them back here so that they hopefully will survive. So here's just some signs of the artificial ignorance, as I like to call it. And this guy's just running around, doesn't know what to do. As your party members get knocked down, you have the ability to bandage them. That makes sure that they don't bleed to death and eventually die before combat's over. There's 3 main ways characters get knocked down. One is, of course, paralyzed creatures like that get knocked down and are dying. If you do enough damage, they're killed outright, such as in these cases. And if you hit them and do exactly the amount of damage of hit points they have left, they just go down unconscious. Sometimes enemies will begin to flee because they're scared. So in that case, though, you get free attacks at them as they're running from behind, which is pretty sweet. But just beware, because if you try to run up on them when they're fleeing, they can take you down like I just did right there. So my recommendation is to just stand back and equip a missile weapon, such as a bow, and just fire at them like sitting ducks. One more quick tip. You can actually cast healing spells on party members that have fallen, such as our character here. It doesn't bring them back in combat, but they'll be revived afterwards. So here we finally defeated the brawl, so we'll just take all the money and exit. The city watch busts in and, of course, wants to break up the fight, which is already over. So no, we don't want to confront them. We'll just say no. And then we can go back and heal. Now you'll notice that the characters down have pink for their name. The ones that are up are light blue. So we can just cast some healing spells and try to recover some of the damage they've taken. Another way to heal is if a cleric has a spell where they can do it, or you can use a healing potion. Once combat's over, you'll want to memorize your spells again, and they're completely forgotten. Throughout the game, you'll encounter tons of goblins, and more goblins, and more goblins, and kobolds, and goblins, and bugbears. Now, in all seriousness, there's all kinds of different creatures you're going to fight. As you do fight them, you'll level up, you'll get more spells. Here our cleric went to level 3. You'll notice that you can see a whole bunch of spells, and they can memorize them all. That's because clerics pray, of course, so they don't have to learn new spells. We just finally got the hold person spell, which is a 2nd level one. But don't get too cocky in this game, because here we're just taking these guys down left and right. Trolls, no problem. Wait a minute. What's... Shit. So you'll notice that things can just take a turn for the worse pretty rapidly. How did that happen? Well, look at this guy's hit points. It was just 1. Now it's 4. Ah, crap. They regenerate. Trolls regenerate. And if that's not worse enough, if you knock them down, they can stand back up and completely heal. But anyway, here's what happens when you die. You're presented with that screen and you're taken out to the command prompt. What a kick in the nuts. Now this is a role-playing game, and strategic simulations gave us a lot of freedom. We can be good or bad, within certain reason. Here we just got done talking to this fortune teller, and we can just kill her. Found a few copper pieces, but the gods are mad, and we got 0 experience. Something tells me that wasn't a very nice thing to do. Just a little tip. When you're in the slums and you run across this wizard here, you can talk to him and go on a little quest, or attack him. I highly recommend attacking him. Why? Because he has a wand of magic missiles. It's an awesome item. And so, as long as you're strong enough, you can take out all these hobgoblins and orcs. I recommend doing so. The first thing I do is cast silence on the magic user. That prevents him from being able to cast spells. Then, of course, use your sleep spells. Paralyze as many as you can, slowly picking them off one at a time. And then have your ranged units and magic users scope down on the magic user and take him out. And then it's a breeze to take out the rest of them. See, and we just got a pretty good amount of experience too, 713. Now there's the wand we wanted. That's really the only very useful item here. So we make it all the way back to the shop. 17,500 gold is what that's worth. But no, it's much more useful than the gold, so I recommend keeping it. After that, make a trip back to the guild after you've cleared out the slums, and you get your reward. Our hero and greedy swordsman, of course, take their share, but we get 337 experience, and this money and jewelry. The way the clerk works is, once you complete one mission, she'll throw in an extra one. So here it mentions Sokol Keep again. The same mission as before about finding books and maps. And then a third one is added. A weapon of great power is in Poodle, whatever, Plaza. So the next thing we're going to do is head off to Sokol Keep and give you a quick tour of some of the things there. You go to the boat area and then you board the ship. I like to flip the view to area view here because then you can kind of see what's going on with the map and all the walls and everything. Our first stop is the skeleton of an elf. And really there isn't much here, but I just want to show you the role-playing feel. If you search it, it'll show you a little scroll. And it's in this cool elven language. You also run across these undead guards quite a bit. If you have a special password, you can cause them to flee, but we don't have it because we don't know how to translate that elven language. So we're going to fight them. And here we'll just cast a magic missile on a skeleton. And we'll use this ability that clerics have called Turn. And that causes the enemies to flee. Now if you're good, it causes them to flee. If you're evil, it can potentially charm them, which is really sweet. You'll notice that these skeletons are taking very minor damage from our bladed weapons. And that's because they're bone. And so they've implemented a rule into the game where any type of piercing or slashing weapon only does half damage to them. I think that's pretty darn cool. Blunt weapons, of course, do full damage. So after battle, we get 41 experience points, and big deal. Now as enemies flee in the game, if they're fast, they can usually get away. Sometimes, like zombies, they're really slow, they get blocked, and it's easy to hunt them down. Some other creatures you're going to find in Sokol Keep are these giant scorpions. Now, of course, you got to be really careful because the poison could potentially kill you. These poisonous frogs have never poisoned me before, so I'm not really sure if they are poisonous. There's also a few magic items in this keep. Here we find a magic hammer, +1.